All right, so we're diving deep into the zone in Stalker 2, Heart of Chornobyl. But this isn't just your typical post-apocalyptic wasteland. We're talking mutants, anomalies that'll bend your mind, and factions battling it out for, I guess, the fate of reality. You ready to jump in?
Well, it's interesting how Stalker takes this event, we all know about the Chornobyl disaster, and twists it, adding these chilling what-if scenarios.
Right. The game doesn't shy away from the real-world tragedy at all, but then it throws in these secret Soviet research facilities, and it just gets under your skin. You know what I mean? And get this, even after the Soviet Union collapses, these scientists, they just keep experimenting. I mean, is it dedication or a one-way ticket to madness?
That's where the new sphere concept comes in, and this really sets Stalker apart. See, it's not just an empty wasteland, but a place where human consciousness, like our thoughts and emotions, can actually warp reality. The game really dives into how that power can be both beautiful and terrifying.
Hold on, so you're saying like our collective brain power is messing with the laws of physics? No wonder there are mutants and anomalies all over the place. But how does the game explain the zone's creation, like the moment it went from disaster site to...
Well, okay, so remember those scientists we were talking about? The ones who went rogue? Well, the game's lore tells us that in 2006, they pushed things way too far. It wasn't just the initial Chornobyl explosion, but a second catastrophic experiment that ripped a hole in the noosphere. This is what created the zone as we see it in the game. Imagine human ambition literally tearing a hole in reality.
Whoa, is heavy stuff. So are you saying that all those weird anomalies, like the ones that can teleport you across the map or fry your electronics, are they like echoes of that explosion? Or is there something more going on, something maybe even conscious?
Well, that's one of the big questions the game explores. The zone isn't static. It's constantly changing, reacting to the thoughts and emotions of those inside it. Some believe those anomalies are echoes of the past, while others think they're manifestations of the new sphere's power, almost like it's trying to communicate.
Okay, that's way more unsettling than just some random glitches. But if the zone is so dangerous, why would anyone risk going in there?
Seriously, sign me up for a virtual vacation somewhere else.
Ah, but that's the allure of the zone, isn't it? It draws in those searching for fortune, hoping to find valuable artifacts created by the anomalies. Then you've got those thrill seekers drawn to danger like moths to a flame. And of course, there are those searching for the truth, trying to unravel the mysteries of the zone and the newsview itself.
So you've got your fortune hunters, your adrenaline junkies, and your conspiracy theorists all thrown into this radioactive pressure cooker. But they can't all be working together, right?
Yeah.
What about these factions I keep hearing about?
Right, because where you have different motivations, you inevitably have conflict. Remember those sources you shared. Two factions really stand out, Clear Sky and Sea Consciousness. And their goals are about as opposite as you can get. Yeah, those two really caught my attention. From what I gathered, Clear Sky wants to like heal the zone, close the rift, bring things back to normal. But Sea Consciousness, they're all about harnessing the new sphere's power, maybe even merging with it. Talk about playing God, right?
Exactly. They represent two radically different philosophies on how to deal with the zone. And that conflict, that clash of ideologies, is at the heart of what makes the Stalker world so compelling.
So it's like the zone is this giant Rorschach test, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone sees something different, and that shapes everything they do what they believe. Must make for some pretty tense encounters out there.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine you're a Clear Sky stalker,
Yeah.
dedicated to healing the zone, and then you come across a Sea Consciousness group trying to exploit its power for their own gain. It's a recipe for disaster, and the game really leans into those clashes.
Makes you wonder if these factions are just fighting to survive, or if there's something more to it. Is it about control, or maybe even faith?
Right. It's fascinating how the zone tests those beliefs. It's not just a physical place. It's a psychological battleground. The constant threat of anomalies, those mutated creatures, the ever-present danger of emissions, it pushes these stalkers to their limits, forcing them to confront not only the threats around them, but the darkness within themselves.
You know, I've heard some wild stories from stalker players about the choices they had to make. Like, do you help another stalker even if it puts you at risk? Or do you focus on your own survival even if it means leaving someone behind? It sounds intense.
And those choices, they're not always easy. There's rarely a clear right or wrong answer. That moral ambiguity, it's woven into the very fabric of the zone. The game forces you to face these tough questions about what it means to be human in a world gone mad.
So we've got these factions with totally different goals, all trying to survive in this unpredictable reality-bending place. But there's one group that I got to ask about, the one that really creeps me out, the Monolith. They're like this total enigma, worshiping this giant mind-altering structure in the zone. What's their deal?
The Monolith, They're the ultimate mystery in the zone. While other factions are fighting for control or trying to understand things, the monolith faction seems content to simply exist in service to this entity. They see the monolith as a source of truth, of ultimate power. Some might even call them fanatics. But there's this unsettling devotion to their beliefs that sets them apart.
I'm picturing them like some kind of post-apocalyptic monks, but instead of chanting, they're guarding this giant reality-warping rock. But one of the sources mentioned that they've like evolved since the original Stalker game. What does that even mean?
That's a question that's sparking a lot of debate among fans. Have they become even more devoted to their beliefs, even more powerful?
Huh.
Or has their connection to the monolith given them some kind of understanding that we can't even grasp?
Are you trying to give me nightmares? But seriously, if their connection to the monolith is that strong, couldn't they hold the key to understanding the zone? Or maybe even controlling it?
That's a dangerous thought, but not impossible. If they've truly tapped into the secrets of the monolith, their potential for power could be unimaginable.
Okay. I'm officially terrified and totally hooked. I'm getting some serious Lovecraftian vibes. Like there are forces at play that are way beyond our comprehension.
And that's the beauty of the Stalker universe. It blends sci-fi horror and philosophical questions in a way that really gets under your skin. It makes you question not just reality itself, but also the limits of human ambition and the consequences of our actions.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking about all these factions, their goals, their struggles, but you said something earlier that really stuck with me, that the zone is like a character itself. It's not just a setting for all this drama. It's like an active force shaping everything.
Yeah, that's a great point. The zone's more than just a location. It's this dynamic entity constantly changing, reacting to those who enter it. Some might even say it has its own will, a purpose that we can only glimpse through the anomalies and the strange things that happen within its borders.
And the zone doesn't care about our human dramas, right? Our petty conflicts. It just IS. And that's what makes it so terrifying. We can try to understand it, try to control it, but in the end, we're at its mercy.
Exactly. And the way it interacts with the stalkers, with the factions, it almost feels like it's testing them, pushing them to their limits.
Yeah.
You know, will they succumb to the zone's influence? Or will they find a way to coexist with it, maybe even learn from it?
Okay, so let's say someone ignores all our warnings and jumps headfirst into the zone. What's the one thing you'd tell them to watch out for? Besides the obvious stuff like the giant brain-melting monolith and the flesh-eating mutants.
Well, besides the physical dangers, the most insidious threat in the zone is the zone itself. It's this subtle psychological pressure that can warp your perceptions, twist your desires, and ultimately break you. It preys on your weaknesses, your fears, and can turn even the toughest stalker into a shell of their former self.
So it's not just about surviving the physical threats, it's about staying sane, keeping your sense of self in this cosmic horror show.
Exactly. And that's what makes the stalker world so captivating. It reminds us that the greatest dangers aren't always the ones we can see, but the unseen forces that can chip away at our minds, our spirits. It challenges our understanding of reality and shows the strength of the human spirit.
Man, I'm starting to think maybe a virtual vacation is the way to go. But as we wrap up our deep dive into the zone, I want to leave you with one last thought. We've talked about the monolith, the factions, all the dangers. But what if the zone isn't just a wasteland? What if it's a crucible for something new, something transformative?
That's an interesting thought. The zone is definitely a place of destruction. But like we see in nature, destruction often makes way for new life, new possibilities.
Exactly. What if the monolith faction, with their connection to that entity, are about to unlock something incredible, something that could change the fate of the zone and maybe even the world beyond it? It's something to think about as you explore the weird and wonderful world of Stalker 2, Heart of Chornobyl.
Just remember the zone is full of wonders and dangers. Go explore, but stay vigilant. The truth, as they say, is out there. In the zone.
And on that note, we'll leave you to uncover those mysteries yourself. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep exploring a picture.